Thank you for tuning in and happy wise year. So, we're going to talk about the new moon. Now, this new moon is very powerful and it's going to be pretty intense because it lays the form of what's going on in the world today and how you are nothing more than a reflection of the outer world. Just remember that for a moment and take that in, because the reflection is always within. What is going on inside of you that is reflected outside of you? Okay, so in Western astrology, the new moon is in Capricorn. However, the system that I follow, it's in Sagittarius. I'm going to blend in both together so you can see how this new moon is playing a part. So in the true heavens and in the true sky called sidereal, which is what you see here, you see that sidereal means where the true timing of the planets are in astronomy. So the moon is conjunct, which means it's conjunct the sun. You can see the two symbols here. And it's in Sagittarius. So that means that the new moon is actually in Sagittarius in the true sky. So what does that actually mean? It's at the 29th degree, the last degree, but it is also very strong intercorrelated with the Capricorn energy. Now, the Capricorn energy, you have Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, and Pluto in Capricorn. So you can see here Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. They're all in here. The moon is about to go into Capricorn, however, as you wake up, if you are in London, because the new moon is going to be around at exact 5 a.m. in the morning. And at 5 a.m. on the 13th in the a.m. is when the energy will start to build up to bring in that energy of Capricorn. So that's why most people would be connected to the new moon being in Capricorn in Western astrology. But the true heavens do not lie. So they have a last element in Sagittarius. And it's been pretty much like that throughout last year into this year. But the year hasn't really started. This is only the Gregorian year. The magical aspect of this is that the new year started on Friday, which is Venus Day. Venus Day is connected to the throat and communication, but it deals more with the beauty. What is it about beauty that is being dealt with? So we're dealing with the element of the oaks in the Chinese system. Now, the Chinese connect with different animals, which connects with the year. So it's the year of the oaks. The year of the oaks is like the bull. In Australia, they call it bullock or something of that nature. Now, the bull deals with the feminine principle, which connects to the Egyptian form, which is Hathor. If you've watched some of my previous new moon videos and full moons, Hathor is the holy cow. And it has this kind of connection because it also starts on February the 12th, which is the new year for the Chinese. And what that means on that day, it also falls on Friday, which is Venus Day, interestingly. So it connects with the throat, it connects with the mask, it connects with all of that kind of energy. Now, in the fixed stars in the sky, this placement, it's called Uttarashada. It's connected to the sun, and the sun represents the element of victory in that placement, the victory over the lower nature expression of the higher self, okay? So what is that? What it represents the element of overcoming one's desires in some ways, but it's more about spiritual attainment. This placement in the sky is called moksha. So the new moon seeds. It's not where the energy is going to be materialized or manifested. It seeds. So the seeding is about the element which brings in a belief. So it's at the last degree. Sagittarius deals with belief. So there's a belief that is at play. Now let us go a little bit deeper into this placement of the moon, so we can kind of give you the formula to move along this energy. Then I'm going to give you some remedies for the whole year, because it's going to be very important for you to utilize this vibration um, of this new moon, because it's the new year. And the new year is actually on the 12th, based upon the traditional Chinese. They use the sidereal system. So that will give you a deeper perspective. And the financial new year is in April, which is spring, which is connected to growth. So that's why they always end their season during the time of Pisces. And then, the sacrifice of the fish on Easter is to lead you on to April, which is the spring of the earth. And so that's how they control people in the system. So, fake news is also in astrology. This is why you have to learn and you have to study. So basically, this placement is the symbol of it is called the plank of the bed. Okay, so what does that mean in other words? Okay, so what it means is that sleeping in hard bed indicates the giving up of desires and needs and living simply. So in this placement, what it's trying to teach us is to remember what is required in life. Remember what is required. So remember the simple things. So the requirement to open our minds to higher connection. So the greatest example is through yoga. When you do a yoga exercise, you're stretching. So as you're stretching, you're opening up the ligaments to other stretches, which then leads you to being able to do a deeper stretch somewhere else. So as you're doing that, of course, you're releasing past life karma, okay? Because you're stretching. That's an example. So as you're stretching, you're strengthening as well the mind. And this is what this is trying to say. So this position in Sagittarius is about deepening and widening your belief. Remember, Sagittarius is governed by Jupiter, which is the biggest planet. So it's about widening your perspective, okay? So this is the connection there. And that's the seed of the new moon. Remember, that's the seed. That's not what's going on. What's going on this new moon is a big major squaring, which is mystical. It's mystical. Now, why is it mystical? Because Uranus is involved. Uranus represents Aquarius, and everyone's been talking about this Aquarius age. But guess what? This Aquarius energy is in materialization. It hasn't happened yet, because if there's still fake news, that means we're still in the age of Pisces. Remember, the old news represents the media and you watching television. The real news, which is the internet, is about those who are waking up, and it's that Uranus energy. So old news is that Saturnian energy doing it the old way. The new is about doing it the new way, which is that Uranus energy, right? Now the squaring, which represents the stars in the sky with everything that's going on with politics, is all reflecting what's inside you. And I want to stress this because it's about our belief to what we've been withholding externally in the world, and what we choose, or what we've chosen to believe in. So the squaring, let me go back into here. The squaring is here. So this is Capricorn, right? And the squaring is to Uranus and Mars. This is Mars, this is Uranus. So the squaring is the Capricorn energy, which is Saturn. Saturn at 8th degree is squaring Mars. Now, Uranus, which governs humanity and a differentness, is squaring, is actually squaring Saturn. Yes, Mars is squaring Saturn, and Uranus is actually squaring also the element of Jupiter. Now, let me explain what that means. Now, the squaring is about materializing and manifesting something It's about creating a new portal. It's about breaking through. The breakthrough is about new ideas. Now the squaring is 90, so it's almost like I've broken through the barrier. Now I'm bringing something in you. So what it means, it connects with laying down the bricks. When you build a house, if you know people who build houses, you will know that when you lay down the bricks, they have to be set in such a way that it builds the foundation for everything. So what's being pushed out is a new building block. The new building block is Uranus. Uranus, how does Uranus see? Actually, let me use a good example. So this is Uranus. This is Saturn. Now, Saturn will not let you out of the ring because it's your restriction. Saturn is all about hard work. You cannot come out of the Lord of the Ring, which is the middle finger. You cannot come out until you've mastered the Saturn energy. So Uranus also governs Aquarius, which is mystical because the connection between Aquarius and Capricorn is that Capricorn brings in the structure, but Uranus breaks it by giving in something else. Now, the mystical key is the conditioning. Now, Uranus represents the conditioning, right, of the new Saturnian energy. So the conditioning is that humanity believes whatever they choose to believe. And so the conditioning takes form. It's like it seeds the Saturnian energy because it's the only zodiac sign. Aquarius is the only zodiac sign which is governed by 2 planets. So this is why I'm talking about it. Capricorn is only governed by Saturn. Aquarius is governed by Saturn and Uranus. So the real mystical key is that Uranus is seeding the Saturn energy, and it's not in our realm because the 7 days of the week only lead you up to Saturn as the 7th or the last planet. And the other planets are not in our firmament, meaning that they're not in our influence heaven unless we're dealing with it on a global level, meaning that Uranus, Neptune, and the other planet, which is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they deal with the outer energies. The manifestation is coming down. So those higher influences are the higher forces, what many people would consider as the alien forces or the energies which are above, way above, influencing our world. So that's the real mysticism. Now the Uranus energy implants Saturn. So the way it works, it implants it once in so many years. We're talking about probably hundreds of years. Once it creates that influence, it creates an impulse. Now the squaring is obviously in Aries, which means that Uranus is creating a push to bring in a new idea. Uranus brings impulses. When you think of Uranus, think of an eruption. Think of a volcanic eruption of an idea, like whoa. So it brings in a sudden idea and force into the world because Saturn structures or creates that foundation for the world. So that foundation is being lit on this new moon. It's being lit. I did show you the squaring. What's fascinating, and obviously Jupiter expands. So what is fascinating is that, where are we here? Jupiter expands that, yeah? Jupiter, which is there, expands that through Mars. So it's almost like there's a shockwave. Mars is impulse of the mind. Jupiter expands that through its debilitation. So it expands the wrong elements of beliefs in some ways, right? But the truth is going to come out because now Jupiter in the sky is in a different element of Capricorn. Remember, Capricorn is debilitated for Jupiter, which means that it's not in a good placement. But as of the 8th of January, it left its debilitation and now is in it's a place where it's very comfortable. in Shravana. So it's light for people. It's lighter now with the belief. It's kind of shifting a little bit, okay? So that's what's really going on. So imagine an explosive, expansive planet is creating a push to a Martian planet. It changes the belief system of the direction of the energy that it's moving into. Literally. So that means that this new moon is bringing attention, which is changing the direction of the beliefs that you're moving into. So what you believed something to be is not actually what it is. So you're going to see the truth of this belief. And that's why it's the seed of the new moon being in Sagittarius at the last degree. Because no one really knows whether it's Biden or Trump who's going to win. No one really knows, but they know there's a tension going on. So with everything that happened a few days ago, is all down to this energy. The last seed is like an enemy in some ways. So, you know, obviously, when you look at Trump, he represents that Uranus-Mars energy. He's got the red tie. That's that Aries energy there. See, for those who watch with a different eye, you can perceive the reality. It's deep. So, right. Don't know what's going on. Someone is beeping. Someone's arguing. It's that tension energy is building. I don't know if you could hear it here, but it's really bugging, trying to interfere with the energy. So basically, what we're dealing with now is that tense energy. So that's exactly what's going on. For the next 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be pretty tense on the political level and perhaps on a human level. Remember, Uranus represents electricity also. So electricity is also building in, creating. So new ideas. These are the times to create new ideas, to push out something new. So these are the times to connect with that. So during the new moon, utilize that. Change your belief. Remember, it's all about keeping it simple. I'm going back to my other notes because I put a few notes together to bring all of this into play. Now, that's it. Let me give you some remedies. The key is to study. This year, new year, is to study. And I'm going to explain this in a moment, why I say studying. Silence, meditation, paying attention, the listening ear. Let me just double check my other notes. Just wanted to confirm. Yeah, the listening ear, making sure you're studying, making sure you're learning. And this is connected to the moon and why this moon is important. This new moon is important because it's going to seed through Capricorn, right? The Western astrology is going to seed into Capricorn. So it's going to give you that formation of why. And I'll tell you why in a moment. Make sure you stay tuned in, right? Make sure you stay tuned in if you want to know the remedy. So silence is the listening ear of Jupiter, right? Silence is the listening ear of Jupiter for this year. So if you can't keep your mind silent, which is going to be one of the tricks of this year, mantras is the formula. Get yourself some beads. Do some mantras. Keep the mind from wandering. Do some meditation. Keep the mind from wandering. Watch what you're eating. That's the main focus. Now, let me give you the reason why now this is very important. So on the 8th of January, right, when all the chaos happened in the first layer, well, I'd say first layer because I don't know how much layers there's going to be, but it's going to be intense. So the first layer is that Jupiter went into its portion of Shravana, which is a new position in the sky in the sign of Capricorn. It changed that energy and now it's governed by the moon. And on that position where it's governed by the moon represents the mind. So the moon is governing us for this year. And it's going to be there for a short while. So it's about strengthening the mind. The next planet which is moving in there around the new moon, it's going to be Saturn. Saturn's going to seed in at that degree. And it's going to move into Shravana in the sign of Capricorn. So what is that going to do? That is also going to strengthen the element of the moon. So the moon is going to be governing that portion, which is going to amplify the vibration of holding a structure in correlationship to the moon. Remember, the moon governs that portion called Shravana, which is in the sign of Capricorn. Think about it for a moment. Capricorn deals with structure. The moon deals with the wanderer. Remember, the woman deals with the moon's energy, which is the cycle. So it changes. This is why the woman always changes her mood every couple of days. Well, human beings do that, but women are the representation symbolic of that energy. So understand it. So in other words, what we're saying is that the Saturn aspect is going to be governed by the moon throughout the whole year, because Saturn is a slow moving planet, so it's going to move through Shravana, which is governed by the moon, and it's going to create or formulate a structure which you can withhold for the year, because it's a slow moving planet, so it's going to move throughout that sign throughout this whole year. So the reason why I gave you the remedies of the moon, because you're dealing with that energy which is resilient, it's very strong, it's hardworking, it's dealing with the mind, it's dealing with that squaring which is in Uranus and Mars, which deals with the head. Aries is the first zodiac sign, which is the head, squaring Saturn, the structure, the order, breaking through a new idea. So the new idea is the new formula to bring in a new force. If you remembered what I said from the beginning with relationship to the ring and Uranus, the new idea comes into play. That is the magic of this new moon. It's about squaring. So if you have tension, go internal, work on it. What is it? So what do we want to do during this time? It's a time to regulate a timetable. Find out what time you want to eat. Figure out a time when you want to meditate. Figure out a time when you want to organize yourself. This is why everyone's at home. That's the lockdown. See, I didn't want to give this skill, but the key really behind this is that you're supposed to be working on yourself. This is why lockdown actually represents the four corners, which is actually being at home. And the four corners is Saturn. And basically, the at-home scenario is just to build your foundation, to build your square. And, you know, the original true Mason, right, is about squaring yourself to understand the formula to move beyond the square. And this is the key to Saturn. Saturn actually represents 4, but its true source is also connected to 8. To come out of that corner of 4 into 8, which is interconnected with Uranus in some ways, because Uranus is the seeder of the idea. This is why Uranus is in Aries at the moment, and why we're not in the Aquarian age yet. We're building into it, right? The Aquarian age doesn't kick in until later throughout the next couple, I'd say about a few more years, till you properly see how the energy materializes. Okay, so so we've covered that. Now the moon, food that you can relate with the moon in this zodiac sign of building into that new moon, but also the Capricorn energy. Now, because Shravana is connected to Capricorn, right? And remember, when I use these words like Shravana, we're talking about portions called nakshatras in the sky, which are portions which are governed by the fixed stars. And they are affecting us in such a subtle way that they also bring in their qualities, and they release what we call juices. Juices are particular elements of feelings from the female, and that's what they represent. Particular juices, which is the moon's nakshatras, or the juices of the secretion of the feminine energy. So this is the key to all these portals of energies. So what we get here is Shravana. The food which interconnects, or the best food to work with, is the banana. It's actually in the word Shravana, banana. Now when someone says, you're talking bananas, mate, you're actually dealing with the mind. The banana, which is the mind, the circle, the crescent, the moon represents the mind. The moon is the gut, but the mind works with the gut. So that curling of the moon is connected to the new moon. Banana. off your bananas. So that's what it is. The symbol of Shravana is the monkey. The monkey represents the monkey mind. Simple. So basically, here is the key. Spirituality governs Sagittarius new moon, which is the seed, which is seeding you. As it seeds you, what do? You connect with the Saturn energy, which is connected to Jupiter and Saturn, okay, which is to do with structuring, which is Saturn, right? Jupiter, which is expansion, expanding the mind, but then organizing everything to keep focus. So listening to the time that you meditate, listening to the time that you dance, listening to the time when you, whatever you're doing, listening is the key for this portion in the sky. So this is the reason why also the new moon, which is the new year of the Chinese calendar, is associated with Venus. Now the bull is the ox. The ox is connected to Venus. Hathor, which is the mother, Venus is connected to the ox because it represents Taurus energy, which is Venus. Taurus is governed by Venus. Venus represents beauty. The mouth is being restricted, but the new moon is like a new element to this thing, a new perspective, perhaps a new angle. So the new moon the new moon leads on to that new cycle, which is the next new moon, which we'll be talking about when you tune into the next new moon cycle, that will be breaking down the connection with the new year, the Chinese New Year, which is going to be interrelated with the ox. Okay, so that brings in that energy, which is connected to the throat again and to Venus. And to top it up, at the moment, remember, the reason why I said it's connected to the Taurus element, it's because the Taurus represents the bull. And that's only when the moon is there that it creates an exaltation, a growth for something. So there's a growth coming through. The ox is also that, but it represents an easier element of the bull. The ox is an easier element, a more soothing element, right? A more controlling element, and it connects with the mind. And the mind is the moon. And the Chinese calendar is connecting to the mind as well on the new moon, which is the next one, by the way. But it's all leading in to why this new moon is important. And if you are wise enough, you will see the formula to why you should be working on this. And any ideas that you have, work on it. Don't just wait for affirmation to do the trick. Work on it. Be on your guard. Be on it. All right, move on. So to move on, so January represents domination, a change in mind. If you don't have a structure, you're losing it this year. You have to have your mind connected. If you want to connect with some deities, connect with Vishnu. Vishnu is the deity which the Indians follow. So this is one form that you can connect with. Okay. If you're not dealing with that energy, then you can start working with the energy of Hanuman, which is another form, which will prepare you. Hanuman represents the monkey. But now remember, Hanuman is the one that got he got initiated to Saturn based upon the element of working every day. So he utilized Dharma, which is action, and he took action every day because Mars represents action. By taking action every day, you're knocking off your wheels of karma. That's the key. You're knocking off the wheels of karma. So taking actions remove some of the transits of Saturn's weakness on you. Now, I want to give you some remedies, other remedies. If you want to get an astrological readings from me, then I will give you remedies. Perhaps a lot of the times it will be gemstones, which will work with your chart. One thing that I haven't really given people is mantras, so it's something that I'm going to start giving as well. But the remedy for this new moon is to work with the mind, to structure your week. And that is when you're supposed to structure your year. So create that final adjustment. So some of the gems that is on my website, some of them I haven't put them up, but you can get the aquamarine pendant, which works with the energy of Saturn. That will allow you to structure yourself and be more in tune with your feelings. Because this one is a very powerful one. It really helps with trauma. It helps with trauma, emotional resistance. It releases that, you know. The next one is Amethyst. Amethyst is another one which releases trauma. It deals with the mind, and it also clears and brings violet protection, which is important. Violet is so important during this time because people are losing it, and so people on the streets who are walking with masks on are looking at people who don't have a mask and sending out negative thought forms because they haven't dealt with themselves, and they've been watching a lot of television. So this is where the confusion comes in, and some people will call me crazy for saying that, but that is what it is. Another one, well, I have a lapis lazuli one. It's on my website, but I haven't got it right here. So I got this one here, which is what's this one? Rhodonite. Rhodonite is very good for working with the heart. And actually talking about the heart, the reason why is because the North Node is exalted at the moment in the sky, and it's there for a year and a half. Very good for people who are Scorpio ascendant in the traditional astrology, and it basically gives you more admiration, more openness, and perhaps even a relationship coming in. So rose quartz as well, that one also deals with it. So if you want to work with that energy, this is a great time to open your heart in relationship to connecting to your higher self. But that's because of that new moon in Sagittarius at the 29th degree, and it deals with the wandering mind when it kicks in, right? So this is a great time to get into opening up the heart with working towards this element of energy. Now, the reason why I say this is because while everyone's confused with the Taurus energy of having the mask, the real energy is about opening up the throat and connecting with the throat, but not overdoing it. Because remember, the North Node is bringing you more of that. So the fact that the North Node has moved into Taurus is giving you more of that mask kind of thing. So this is, if you study astrology, it will make so much sense. The North Node, which is Rahu, brings you more of something. So it brings you more of the throat covering. So this is where you're supposed to be getting clarity, because it brings confusion as well. So it's like get real about what you're searching and researching and believing, because obviously I'm just a small person just giving you some information on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, but are you really looking at the information for yourself? Where is your growth? So this is where you have to look within and go beyond. So another thing that I'm doing to open up the heart, these are rare raw turquoise from USA. These are 1970 deposits, so they are actually, well, I've connected with them, and it does go back to an island somewhere in America. I don't know which island it is, but that's the information that I got. So now they are, I would say they are, what do you call it, antiques. So they're rare pieces. I mean, they're very rare pieces. You can see the turquoise energy. Very rare pieces, and they connect with the Taurus energy, and they deal with protection. Turquoise is such a powerful stone because it deals with protection, and I've spoken about this in my previous new moon, full moon video, which talks about it. So these are the key remedies that you can work if you want to work with the Venusian energy, that you can work with the turquoise. That would connect with you very well. Now, the interesting thing about this new moon, the next day the sun hits Pluto in Capricorn. It's mad because Pluto deals with transformation. And, Obviously, these are outer planets, so it's more about, you know, what the other beings are doing on the other realms, which are affecting our realm, our third density, we could say. Our third density manifests through through the tree. I say the tree of life because that's where the energy kind of pours through. So the Uranus energy, how do you work with that Uranus energy? Because it's going to be squaring the moon half into the new moon of the day after the new moon. So to stimulate ideas, if you can handle it and you have been working on your mind, then you can have herbs like cinnamon. Clove is cool anyways. Cinnamon will agitate it. Ginseng, as well as ginger, all these these genie stones. So herbs, sorry. So basically, those type of seeds will activate the Uranus energy to create an impulse. So if you're really on the move, then even like breaking through something, breaking through an idea, depending on how good your Pisces energy is, you can connect with the stars by dancing and connecting with the heavens in that respect. This is what the indigenous people did when they danced around the sun, Sirius, the great sun. They danced around the sun to get the real impregnation of these intergalactical star transmissions. So that's why the stars, the Sirius people, dealt with a different kind of star system. They were working beyond mundane astrology, which is planets that we're looking into. They were working with the fixed stars, and this is why I always connect the new moon with the nakshatras and the actual points which deals with the fixed stars. Actually, talking about that, I do have some notes in relationship to that. Maybe I can add into it. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Uttarashada. Uttarashada is the obviously is in displacement. So the fixed star which connects with Uttarashada is Al-Belda. Al-Belda is connected to that passage. So Al-Belda is a fixed star in the sky. So that's the true fixed position. And what is recommended for that is when it goes through this passage, you can make pentacles intended for growth of crops. So if you have a farm, or even planting, or even have, leaves, or not leaves, certain plants, then you can plant a new seed. Because basically it's also a symbol which represents crops of wealth. And the best time to do this is after this new moon. So you can create the idea for it, and then on the new moon, a day after the new moon, 2 days after the new moon, when the sun has come out of Pluto, because Pluto is going to create a change but on a different realm. When the sun comes out of Pluto, on the second day, you can plant a seed into the earth to bring in wealth. And this is what I'm saying. And on top of that, you can also work with charms to break the bonds of like certain relationships that didn't work. So if you're trying to disconnect a bond that someone's put in, or perhaps you have a bond with someone and trying to break it away, sometimes you can't break them away. Sometimes you have to experience them, because that is part of the lesson of Venus. Relationships is about detachment sometimes. So you create the bond, the disconnection of the bond. So this is the connection with that placement in the sky. Yeah, this is a time of like, whenever the moon's in that placement, it only lasts for a day anyways, but it does go into, the last little degrees. So it's about kind of detaching from kind of like, from unsettled energy, basically, and bringing new energy. So it's almost like a divorce, like Sagittarius represents marriage in astrology anyways. It represents marriage, but it's always, because it's at the 29th degree, it's a divorce. It's at the last degree, a divorce to crucify the energy to bring in a level of structure and foundation. And that's why the moon is kind of interrelated with it there. with that there. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to work out if there's anything else that I've missed out, because sometimes I tend to miss out things. But just make sure that if you want to read in and want to know what's going on for you, then tune in and get a reading. You know, click on the link in the bio on the Instagram page, or just follow me, or sending me a message sometimes can bring a bit of confusion. So just fill in the form on the website, or just check out the stories. Sometimes on the stories I put out the reading page. Okay, yeah, I think that's about it. Just double checking. Yeah, I've cleared away everything. That's the main key. But it's that the last thing I want to say is that conjunction between the Sun and Pluto. That conjunction is very interesting, because that happens the second day of of the new moon, which is all interrelated. So expect some tension during the 13th, the 12th and the 13th. And obviously the new moon being on the 13th at 5 a.m. is going to implement that energy. And of course, we didn't go into how the moon will affect you on a personal level, right? We may be doing, well, let me see something actually, because when is the new moon? The new moon is on Tuesday. So on Thursday, I'll be live with Not Doctor Tomorrow, and we'll be doing probably some stuff there. So perhaps I can add on to that, or I'll probably be doing a live during the day of the new moon to kind of bring in or ring in that energy of what we call of the square, which is going to be some tense faculty of energy. So expect some interesting things to unfold on Tuesday and the next few days within that, because that Pluto energy is going to kick in with that squaring with Mars, and Jupiter is expanding on it. So I think we've covered all. So thank you so much for tuning in, and stay focused.